Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm looking to build a community here. People who are like me, and by that I mean people who have had a lot of health problems that may have been solved by some good advice early on. And by that I mean maybe some nutrition. So I'm going to tell you my story a little bit here, and I'm going to try and make it brief, but it is long. So when I was 30, I was diagnosed with gallbladder disease. It was 7% operational, and I said, just pull it out, not realizing the implications of that and what that could mean for me later on in life, or, affect my diet and things I love to eat. So backing up just a little bit, before that, I was trying to have a baby. I couldn't have a baby. I went through IVF. I did everything I possibly couldn't have a baby. Okay, so we live with that. We move on. Our gallbladder comes out, and not too long after, my thyroid starts to act up. So they put me on thyroid medication. My mom, my grandma, my great-grandma, all on thyroid medication. I didn't think too much of it. So here we are now on thyroid medication, but after the gallbladder comes out, everything starts to go really wonky. And now everything seems to be like I'm gaining weight. I've never gained much weight. I've never fluctuated at that point too much in my life. I always stayed right around the same. Didn't matter what I ate, didn't matter how much I exercised. My body just was comfortable where it was. And then all of a sudden, none of my clothes fit. And no matter how little I ate or how much I exercised or what I tried, I just kept gaining. So I went back to the doctor, and the answer was, well, let's take some pictures of your thyroid and see what's going on. So I had some nodules, big nodules on the left side, and they took that out and they did a biopsy, and I had cancer in both sides, and it was metastasized. So they said, no big deal, we got it all, we think, so you should be all set. I went through radiation therapy, which by the same token, if you know anything about that, it's the same nuclear reactive treatment that they just had an accident in Chernobyl in 1986. It was kind of funny to see that. And let's see. So I was radioactive for a while, and that was no fun. And then everything should have gone back to normal, right? Thyroid came out, they adjusted my medication up and down, and then all of a sudden, my liver panels started to really fluctuate. And I'd say this was about 2014. And it was up in the 200s, 300s. Doctor would say to me, well, what do you want to do? What do I know? I don't know what to do about that. You're the doctor, you should tell me what to do about that. So, long story even longer, I went through a battery of tests. He had asked, how are you feeling? I said, I'm freaking tired, man. I can barely get through a day. I can't keep my eyes open. And that was about it. Later on, I started to have some pain up and through here in my liver area. Sharp stabbing pains, burning pains. It just felt like somebody was on the inside just pulling at my liver with a pair of pliers, or taking an ice pick and going at it. Anyhow, one day I was watching a documentary called Forks Over Knives, and there was all these people that had these diseases that were being cured, I guess. And those types of diseases can be cured very easily. Not to say that it's very easy to stick to a whole foods plant-based diet all the time, but they seem to do well. And I thought, that's for me. That's what I'm going to do. Now, I hadn't been diagnosed yet with any thing going on with my liver. They told me it wasn't a fatty liver, but they wanted to do a liver biopsy. So I had a liver biopsy, which, by the way, was no big deal. But again, another surgery. Let go under again. I'd had colonoscopies at this point a couple of times because I have a lot of relatives that have had colon cancer. I've had relatives that have died from colon cancer. And later on, I learned that colon cancer really is a product of your environment growing up with the same foods that your family eats. It's not necessarily a hereditary thing, although I guess it could be. I'm not a doctor. I don't know everything there is to know. I don't proclaim to know everything there is to know. I'm just going to tell you what my experience has been. And maybe you can resonate with that. Maybe you'll say, hey, part of that happened to me too. Or I had those same exact things. Or I had those same exact things, but I didn't have that. And that's great. So we can, talk about what we've learned and maybe help each other. So anyhow, they put me, they did my liver biopsy, and the doctor wouldn't diagnose me. He said it looks a lot like this disease, there's no cure, there's no medicine, so I really don't want to diagnose you with it. Well, dude, what are we going to do? I mean, either I have it or I don't, and if I have it and there's nothing we can do about it, I still have it, and I'd like to know that I have it. So I went to Rochester, New York, and was diagnosed again. Yes, you have primary sclerosing cholangitis. And my mouth dropped. And the doctor said, well, you seem upset by that. I said, well, yeah, from what I know, there's no cure, there's no medication, and it's kind of a dead end. The only treatment is a liver transplant. Your liver just eventually scars to the point where they can't fix it, and you need a liver transplant. She's like, yeah, that's all. I thought, well, you just don't go to Walmart and pick up a new liver and have it installed the next day. I mean, this is ridiculous, the way that this doctor talked to me. So I went to Mayo Clinic because they're supposed to be on the cutting edge, and maybe I can find out some more information. And my experience, that was not the case. I wrote a one-page letter about all of my symptoms and everything that I had been experiencing. They didn't read it. I was still having a lot of fatigue, nausea. Sometimes I get fatigued to the point where I can't even stand on my own. I'm just so weak. So yes, primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC. Then last year, I was having some other symptoms, and I thought, well, my calcium is high when they do blood tests, and sometimes it's above normal, and sometimes it's in the normal range, but high, and I wonder what that could be, right? Because they never addressed that. And some years ago, an endocrinologist said, oh, we need you to take out your parathyroid hormone or parathyroids right away. This is a problem. And then she put me on vitamin D, and she said, oh, well, let's see how it goes. Okay, well, it's still high, but it's normal, so let's leave it alone. Okay. But she also did a PTH blood test, and that was above range. Okay. So I revisit this because now I'm thinking maybe there's something more. This fatigue is not just having to do with my liver. Maybe there's more. And maybe that doesn't have anything to do with it either, but maybe there's more. So yeah, I have high PTH values, normal to high calcium. Doctor does a 24-hour calcium, 24-hour urine, and finds that I have this familial something FHH. And I thought, nobody in my family has this. This is crazy. And how, anyway. So this is my story. And we're going to talk about what I've learned about how to advocate for yourself. Don't just use WebMD and diagnose yourself. Let's think about how else we could do some research and figure out how to convey to the doctors and how to keep going if you don't like what a doctor has to say. Because they don't, my experience, they don't always know. They don't have enough experience with something, and you gotta find somebody. So I just went to Mass General. I really like the doctor that I saw there. Of course, she has to start from the beginning and see all of my films, for my MRCPs, my liver MRIs, and she also has to check on to see what kinds of problems I've had with. Nope, we're gonna cut it there. But she's gonna look at all of my films with other doctors, and they're gonna see, if it's progressed, how it's progressed, what's going on now, where am I at since this started in 2017, and hopefully I can get some answers. But there's still no cure. So I think that for me, the best I've felt is when I have followed a whole foods, plant-based diet, but that's not always a solution for me, because sometimes I don't have food prepared because I don't feel well and I can't go shopping and I can't, cook all day on Saturday or Sunday on my days off. I definitely can't cook after I get home from work. I'm too tired. So sometimes it's just whatever you have at hand, and it's not nutritious, and it's not good for you, and it's ultra processed, and it's junk. But if you can get food in yourself, I guess, and have something, is that better than nothing? I don't know. Some people would say it is. So I do the best that I can, and I hope that this resonates with you in some way. And I hope that we can, like I said, build a community and get to know one another and help pull each other up, because there's times when I really could use that. So if you like this video, if you think that you're gonna like my channel, and I'm gonna try and do another video that talks a little bit about nutrition and macronutrients next. So I'm gonna be wearing the same thing, so don't think that it was done another day and I'm wearing the same thing. I'll just tell you right now, I'm not gonna go change just because I'm gonna do another video. All right, so that's it. Like, subscribe, and thanks for listening.